You know, when we talk about faith, we so often get stuck in this simple black and white view. It feels like we're given only two boxes to check, forcing us into a corner with just one single question. Yeah, it's this question, right? The one that always seems to come up. Believer or non-believer? Yes or no? It feels so final, so definite. But what if that question is missing the entire point? Well, according to a spiritual tradition known as Arreqqana, this whole black and white framework just doesn't capture the real, messy, beautiful truth of a person's inner life. They suggest that belief isn't some switch you just flip on or off, but a huge and varied landscape. And they call this landscape the spiral of sacred resonance. Finding your place in it isn't about passing some test, but about looking inward. They use a series of questions, not to get a score, but to help you discover where your soul happens to be resonating right now. Let's explore a few. So, notice how this question isn't about if you perform rituals, but how you feel about them. It creates this whole spectrum from, just simple unfamiliarity all the way to a deep personal connection. And here's the key. There's no wrong answer. Each one is just a different spot on the path. Okay, here's another one. The focus here is on your internal state when things get quiet. Does silence make you antsy and uncomfortable, or does it actually make you feel more alive? It's just gauging a feeling, a resonance, not some declared belief. It's all about what's happening inside. And this final example uses this really powerful metaphor, belief as a home. Is it some distant land you've only heard stories about, or is it the very cathedral of your soul? You see, these questions aren't a test. They're an invitation to see your spiritual life not as a label, but as a living, breathing space. So these questions help you kind of locate yourself on the spiral, which the Arreqqana describe through 6 main stages. And this is super important, we have to think of these not as levels to achieve, but more like different locations you might visit on a lifelong journey. All right, first up is the Kitara, or the curious. This is someone who's always asking the deep questions, who notices the beauty in the world and just senses there might be something more, even if they don't have a name for it. They're philosophical, observant, and wonderfully open. For them, the act of wondering isn't a sign of doubt that you need to get rid of. No way. It's the sacred first step. In this tradition, the whole journey begins because the question itself is sacred. Next on the path is the Sovakar, the watcher. This is a person who might not participate in rituals themselves, but they see the beauty in someone else's devotion. They're respectful, thoughtful, and they kind of act as a bridge between worlds. I absolutely love this quote. It just captures the whole vibe of the watcher perfectly. It suggests that simply by observing with a kind and open heart, you're participating in the sacred in your own way. You carry its echo. Now, the journey takes a really interesting turn with the Kasara care. This is a big shift. The experiencer is someone who hasn't just observed something, but has actually felt it. A moment of pure awe in nature, a deep connection listening to music, maybe an unexplainable feeling of peace. They're described as embers in motion. And this really reflects that shift from the intellectual to the visceral, It's no longer just about questions or observations. It's about feeling the rhythm of the sacred in your own life, even if you can't put it into words yet. So from that feeling, a person might become a Kavalian, a threadwalker. This is where belief becomes an active, lived-in practice. This person might light candles, visit temples, or honor specific spiritual principles, what they call the threads, in their day-to-day life. I mean, what a poetic way to describe an integrated spiritual life. For the threadwalker, spirituality isn't just something you do on a certain day of the week. It's woven right into the fabric of your existence, where every little action can become a form of devotion. Go a little further along the spiral, and we find the Kusarmara, the devotional. For them, the separation between sacred life and daily life just dissolves. It's gone. Every single act is sacred. These individuals are seen as spiritual stewards, radiating this gentle but really powerful reverence. This is a core teaching in Arreqqana. It translates to, the thread is not outside you. You are the thread. So for the devotional, the divine isn't something out there that you have to reach for. It's the very substance of your being. It's a profound union. And finally, right at the very heart of the spiral, is the Nakajagaran, the beyond believer. This isn't a state of doing something, it's a state of being. Think of a mystic or a sage whose very presence just radiates peace. They don't need to try to believe anymore. Their devotion is as natural as breathing. I mean, this quote says it all, doesn't it? It's the complete fusion of the soul with its path. Faith is no longer an effort or practice, it's an identity. It is simply who they are. So after hearing all those stages, it's pretty natural to think, okay, I've got to climb that ladder. But the Arreqqana tradition is very, very clear. That's entirely the wrong way to look at it. This is the core difference. A ladder is rigid, it's hierarchical, it's a judgmental race to the top. But a spiral is fluid, it's personal. It's a path to walk, not a race to win. It honors and accepts you wherever you happen to be. This system values fluidity. You might be an experiencer in a moment of grief, then find yourself as a watcher a year later. In fact, staying a curious person your entire life is seen as a beautiful, complete path. What really matters isn't your rank, but the sincerity of your journey and the resonance you feel inside. Okay, so you might be wondering, what about the people who would firmly check that non-believer box? Where do atheists and skeptics fit into this fluid, accepting model? This, to me, is one of the most fascinating parts. In the Arreqqana view, nobody is outside the fabric of existence. Skeptics are considered thread silent, but get this, not threadless. They are still part of the whole, and they're even seen as playing a sacred role, challenging dogma and shaking up beliefs that have gotten stale. As one of their sayings goes, to believe is one way to love, to wonder is another. So you see, this whole way of thinking moves us way beyond a simple yes or no. It invites us to look at our inner lives as a unique and valid path, no matter what it looks like. And it leaves us with a much more personal question. Remembering that powerful idea that the thread is not outside you, the real question becomes, where is yours leading you now?